As the calendar turns to a new month, you're going to see multiple videos and articles about all the new games coming up in August. But what about the games you already have? I have a list of some of the biggest VR game updates from July that you might have overlooked. It's a Live Open Daily podcast. Let's talk about it. I'm your host, Live Open Mike, and something that I think gaming in general doesn't do a great job of is promoting game updates. For every Shadow of the Erdtree that comes out for Elden Ring, there are literally thousands of games every single month, a lot of which that you already own, that get updates and you just don't know that they happen because they're not as front and center as the new release stuff. And the content creation cycle doesn't really help that because all of that is usually centered on what's new and fresh. If you're looking to keep up with your latest VR game updates, depending on what platform you're on, there's a few options you have for that. If you primarily use a Quest, the Meta Horizon fee is decent for that, but that's starting to get cluttered with a lot of content creator stuff and a lot of stuff for the Meta Horizon app. But if you use your notifications, that's the bell in the upper right corner of the app, you can actually get a scroll of the most recent posts from developers directly. If you go into the settings of that, you can actually choose which games you would like to and not like to get updates for, so you can filter that feed to whatever games you want to keep track of. I use this a lot because I have hundreds of apps on Quest and it's hard to keep up with all of that. So I've curated it down to the ones that I actually want to keep up with updates for versus the ones I know I'm going to hop into anyway, like say Walkabout Mini Golf. I knew that course was coming out because that's a game I play pretty frequently. But if there's a game like another one on this list that maybe hasn't had an update in a while, I'm most likely to miss that. If you're on PCVR using Steam, go to your library and across the very top there's a shelf called What's New, and that's going to be the latest developer post from every single game that you have in your library if something is posted sometime in the last 30 to 60 days. So if you get in the habit of scrolling that once a week, you're not likely to miss an update at that point. If you're using the Steam app, at the very top, click Menu, click News, and you'll get the exact same stuff you see on the What's New feed on the desktop app, all the same developer posts are right there. With all that said, let's get to the games. The first one on the list is Contractor Showdown. This is the biggest battle royale first-person shooter in VR, lobbies of over 60 players, which is absolutely incredible. By comparison, something like Population 1 only has 18. On July 25th, they rolled out Season 1. This rolls out a whole bunch of new content to the game, the most important of which, or at least the biggest one that's getting the most attention, are the vehicles. Now you or your team can ride around in four-wheeler ATVs and SUVs with a really annoying car honk sound. On top of that, there's also a new mode called Reborn. There's of course new cosmetics and everything in the shop. There are 3 new area maps: the Ark Airport, New Town, and excavation sites. There's new weather systems, and now on top of your opponents, now you have to contend with really bad fog or rain. And on top of that, there's a whole bunch of new quality of life features. For instance, there's an option to switch the weapon slot from your shoulder to your waist if you're in vehicles, for people who have motion sickness issues, because vehicles can actually really badly induce motion sickness. They put in a new limiter for your field of view that won't actually affect you if you're out of a vehicle, but if you're in the vehicle, you're driving around, you can actually narrow your field of view to keep yourself from getting sick. I'm not going to read through the entire patch notes because again, there's a lot of bug fixes and technical stuff in here, but check out the patch notes yourself, whether you're on Steam or on Quest. There's a whole bunch of stuff to get into and hop into Season 1. Next up on the list is No Man's Sky. If you're looking for a big expansive world to explore, you're not going to find anything much bigger than No Man's Sky. There's an infinite number of planets and flora and animals to explore in this game, and the developers Hello World really are big believers in virtual reality, so anything that comes to the flat version of the game also comes into the virtual reality version of it. The latest update is called Worlds Part 1. I'm just going to read straight from the press release here. Worlds transforms the universe into a richer, wilder, more varied, and immersive place, featuring huge leaps in water and cloud visuals, increased planetary diversity, new gameplay features, and more. One of the developers did a blog post kind of getting into the details of what you can expect in this. When we started No Man's Sky, we wanted people to feel like they had stepped into a science fiction book cover. To bring us closer to that, we've had to create a lot of new technology. New water technology can create waves and reflections, oceans that look so different to what we previously have had. Ocean planets feel completely new and ships can now land on water. Planets have wind patterns, waves are dynamic and react to weather. On the surface of the planet, we've added new volumetrics and atmospherics, rolling fog, rain, blizzards, lava sparks combined with wind and clouds. It changes how planets feel to explore and adds so much more life. Sometimes a storm hits, you can see the waves rise and the clouds gather. The new wind, the cloud, the oceans, the atmospherics all hit together and it feels like nothing else. It's not enough to just add more, we want to do things that people haven't seen before. And of course, these new creatures can all be pets and mounts. No Man's Sky is a game about exploring, so how planets look and feel is important, but what you do on these planets is something we wanted to add to with every update. Expeditions have become a huge part of how folks play the game. We've made something very Starship Troopers inspired with this next expedition. It's really different and it takes you on the tour of some of these cool new planets. Everyone's battling against bugs together and progress is community driven. There's a new mech with heavy armor and a cool flamethrower arm, and you are going to need it. You can play No Man's Sky on PC VR and PlayStation VR 2. PSVR 2 actually got a dynamic foveated rendering using eye tracking about 6 months ago, and that is now basically the best looking version of that game. Terra Alia is a game that I played in early access on my Twitch stream last year, and it had quite a few rough edges. Now the developers 30 Parallel Games have released the full version of the game, Terra Alia The Spellfinitive Edition. I'm playing this game right now for a review, so expect that on the YouTube channel sometime in the next 2 weeks or so. Reading from the press release, Terra Alia is a steampunk RPG language adventure set in a techno-magical world where spells are crafted using a multilingual system. Going through a list of improvements, there are 3 new locations, larger than ever, with expanded storylines and additional side quests. Now you can play in multiplayer, competing with up to 4 other people. There are new spells in the game. There's something I know that when I played in early access, there was a very limited number of spells. But now it says you can confront new challenges, enemies, and puzzles with an array of powerful spells. They've enhanced the gameplay with polished combat mechanics. A proper leveling system is another thing that I know that in early access. They've improved the visuals. They've done more about voice recognition. In terms of story, to solve the mysterious disappearance of Professor Esperanto, begin your journey at the prestigious Magic Academy, navigate through a city where technology and magic blend seamlessly, and explore the depths of an ancient desert. Solve intricate puzzles and engage in dynamic combat using spells crafted from words in 10 different languages. As you level up, expand your vocabulary and master even more powerful spells. This game is also available on flat on Nintendo and Steam, and unlike a lot of flat games that come to VR, I watched a lot of footage of the flat version of the game, and while the early access version visually for VR didn't really measure up, this one is a lot closer to what you're getting on a flat screen experience. The way the voice recognition works that's really important is that you hit grip to trigger whatever you want to say. So like, let's say you point at a table or a lamp or an enemy if you're going to attack them, and then you hold down your trigger button and that activates your microphone. From that point forward, you have to say the word back. So for instance, if I were using Spanish, table would be mesa. And if you say it correctly, you get credit for learning that word in the vocabulary. If you're in the middle of a fight, saying the proper word, like it'll ask you, how do you say trash in Spanish? And you have to say basura right back to it. If you say it correctly, then you actually do your attack properly. I'll get more into the mechanics of it when I do my full review of the game, but the full version of the game is available now. It dropped on July 24th, and it's 50% off, so it's only $10 for the first month it's released. So if you're an RPG lover like me and you know there's not enough of that stuff in VR, I could do a whole other video about the lack of RPGs in VR. Go ahead and snatch this up. If you don't like it, remember there's a 2-hour return window for Meta, so just send it back. Next up is a game that I spent more time in VR than I care to admit, and that's Medieval Dynasty New Settlement. This latest update, patch 1.3, brings in something that the community was asking for a while. Number 1, achievements. There are 75 new achievements built into the game. And number 2, there's a full challenge mode. If you don't know about this game, it is a medieval building, crafting, and survival game based on the flat game of the same name. It's not as expansive as the flat game like a lot of these games are, like Smalland VR had the same problem, but they're incrementally adding on new features to expand the game as much as possible once they see how much the headset can handle. For instance, when the game first came out, you could only hire 10 workers and they had very limited roles that they could do. You actually couldn't even build worker housing for them. Worker housing came in a patch earlier this year and they expanded the number of workers you can hire from 10 to 20. So if you've already built up your entire settlement and you've gone through the full story mode and you're looking for new stuff to do, this is something to get you back into the game along with the online achievements. They've also done a huge amount of quality of life fixes, and this is a developer because I've been following them since the game came out. They have been really responsive to the community. They do hot fixes at least twice a month, fixing as many bugs as they possibly can, or just little quirks that they kind of want to iron out to balance the game's fairness and things like that. Sometimes they're a little bit off, like they overtaxed us about 2 months ago, but they then pulled that back and made it right. And in general, the game is much better than it was before. Sometime in August, the developers have said they're going to be dropping their Quest 3 update, upscaling the textures, the render resolution, all the stuff we've seen from a lot of other developers who have upscaled their games for Quest 3. And some of those Quest 3 updates have been amazing, so I can't wait to see what these guys do. Next up is a game that's absolutely smashed it with DLC content, and that's Walkabout Mini Golf. Their newest course is based off the popular TV series Wallace and Gromit, which actually got a full VR game earlier this year. Reading through the release, there's a new attraction at 62 West Wallaby Street, mini golf built by the iconic English duo Wallace and Gromit. We are chuffed to be partnering with multi-award winning studio Aardman to bring generations of fans together for immersive fun. Like all the other courses in Walkabout, this course features 18 different easy and hard mode holes, a bunch of lost balls for you to collect, and if you finish the course under par or you find so many lost balls on the easy mode, you then unlock the hard version of the course. Usually that's palette swaps to like create a plan at night or in a different set of like weather conditions, and you do what's called a fox hunt. I know the community loves these things, where you basically do a scavenger hunt to find artifacts and collectibles around the course itself, and if you find all of them, you get a new putter. Every single course in the game has these. Let's stick with golf for a minute, but if you're into a more serious golfing experience to what you would normally get on something like Walkabout Mini Golf, then check out the 2 new courses on Golf Plus. The first new course was Spyglass Hill. This dropped about 4 weeks ago. Just a few miles north of the iconic Pebble Beach golf links, Spyglass Hill is celebrated as the toughest test on the Monterey Peninsula. Credited by renowned designer Robert Trent Jones Jr., this course boasts a unique dual personality. The first 5 holes play along the coastal dunes, offering breathtaking Pacific Ocean views before transitioning to the serene and challenging Del Monte Forest. Known affectionately as Spy, this course co-hosts the prestigious AT&T Pebble Beach Pro-Am on the PGA Tour. And then the second new course that dropped about a week ago is Sweetens Cove. Beautiful, unique, and fun, Sweetens Cove, a 9-hole masterpiece crafted by visionary designers Rob Collins and Tad King, epitomizes the essence of modern golf. Nestled in the foothills of Appalachia, just 30 minutes from Chattanooga, Tennessee, its alternating routing ensures endless variety and challenge for each hole. There's no lavish clubhouse or driving range, just a trailer, a few carts, and a playground for golfers to unleash their imagination and creativity. Golf Plus is another game that has been steadily updated by developers, not just to improve like mechanics and visuals and things like that, but adding new courses all the time, and these are all based on real life courses on the PGA Tour. Next game on the list is Iron Lights, and if this game's been collecting cobwebs on your headset, I wouldn't blame you. The last update for this game was 3 years ago. But they're back now with their new Gauntlet update. Iron Lights is one of the OG arena battlers. There was Blade and Sorcery, which is obviously way more popular, and there was something like Hellsplit Arena on PCVR. We're really kind of like the OGs of this genre before we started getting a ton of these iterated over and over and over again. But again, this game hasn't been updated in 3 years. Reading straight from the list from the developers, Gauntlet Update is Endless Mode plus 60 new cosmetics. Iron Lights is back with the Gauntlet Update, featuring the Endless Gauntlet Tournament. Fight a series of duels with no healing for ever increasing rewards, 15 new cosmetics in each category of armor, helmets, metal, and accents, along with a balance update. It's always nice to see developers come at the games that you thought were kind of like dead and they just weren't updating them anymore aside from like bug fixes. I know Sweet Surrender recently got an update after a really long time away from that game as well. So again, if Iron Lights has been collecting dust in your headset, go dust it off and give it a look, see what the new stuff is. The next game is Power Wash Simulator VR. I am hopelessly addicted to this game. My best friend actually got me hooked on it, and now they're releasing the Alice Adventures DLC. Reading straight from the press release from In Dreams, this topsy-turvy special pack features a wide range of level aesthetics, from opulent maximalism to introspective minimalism, featuring elements such as ornate interiors and fabrics, unique furnishings, custom themed cutlery, crockery, and furniture, including details like the good enough to eat carrot utensils. There are 5 new areas to pressure wash in the special pack. The first one is the Wonderland Entrance Hall. Travel through an incredible Ames Illusion corridor into the entrance hall via the Magic Method quest. Reveal unique patterns on the floor and ceilings and quirks in architecture as you wash, such as little doors nested in the main doors. Then there's a White Rabbit's house. Alluding to the rabbit's preoccupation with being late, his home has been littered with clocks and time motifs, including a clock floor and a pervasive sound of ticking. Next up is the Caterpillar's mushroom. Ever wondered if a caterpillar wears socks? Want to know more, as players will find them hanging on the line. A more curious question is, do they wear PJs and what do they look like? The answer lies under the muck. Next up is the Mad Tea Party. In this unique level, players will see things from a whole new perspective after being shrunken down to miniature size and let loose with one-on-one controls to clean up the Mad Hatter's Tea Party with accuracy. Lastly, there is the Queen of Hearts Court. Players will feel imposed and invited in equal measure as they look up, down, and all around at the beautiful environment, art, and real details. They'll stare in awe at the trimmed hedges that line up perfectly with the Queen's crown and the wonderfully illustrated banners that undoubtedly cement this as a domain fit for a queen. Power Wash Simulator VR is currently only available on the Quest platform. I haven't seen anything about them porting into PCVR. We'll keep an eye on that to see if it goes over to Steam or PSVR 2. Last up, we started with a shooter, so let's end with a shooter and talk about Breachers. Breachers is way different than Contractor Showdown. This is a 5v5 tactical shooter akin to something like Rainbow Six Siege. Introducing Dam. Dam is a map full of industrial hallways where long sight lines can be held and where treacherous angles can result in a tragic loss. Whether the enemies hide near the turbines, the generators, and the security office, server room, or one thing is for sure, you're in for an intense battle. So what's the story? The electricity that's generated in this power plant directly supplies ESTF weapons factories in the region, and local wildlife has suffered at the hands of the construction of this complex. With all this in mind, revolters have infiltrated the dam to destroy it. Take back control of the dam as enforcers or complete your destructive objective as revolters. Either way, victory is ripe for the taking. And then the biggest new feature is the Death Recap. We don't only have a new map to show off, we're thrilled to introduce a new feature to the game, Death Recap. Previously, we had a Kill Tracer feature, which allowed players to see a red line indicating the trajectory of the shot that killed them. We decided to build on that. Players will now also see a snapshot of themselves and their killer at the moment of their death. Additionally, we also added UI elements to display how much damage was taken in each part and which weapons were used to inflict that damage. They've also done some balancing to how points are scored, like the competitive rank mode, which is something that you will never see me play. Your boy is not a sweat, and some weapons balancing that you would expect in a shooter like this. Breachers has also launched its first official season 1, so if you're into competitive FPS, if you're looking to climb leaderboards and do a lot of grinding, Breachers will deliver. Breachers is going to give that to you in spades. Breachers had a very active player base since it first came out, and really there's not a game like it in VR, so if you haven't hopped into Breachers for a while, go check out the new map and let me know. Breachers has a really active player base, and there's not really a game like this in VR. You don't really have trouble getting into games because the lobbies are usually pretty decent, and they've steadily added with like new maps and weapons as the game has gone along. So go hop into Breachers, let me know what you think of the new map. That's the whole list, and I could have done this for an hour, but I think once you hit like 10 or 12 pieces of information, you start to forget the stuff that you got earlier in the video. So I'd like to do these in like 10 game chunks. I'm going to try to do this kind of episode once or twice a month because there were 20 other game updates that I did not list on this, either because I haven't played them, I'm in the process of playing them, or maybe they're just smaller updates compared to the ones that I put on this list. If there's a game that you love, or if you're a developer that just updated your game in the last month, drop me a line, shoot me a DM, email, reach out to me on Discord, wherever. I think game updates can get overlooked because people are always looking to what's the shiny new thing to play, and they're not circling back to the games they already have, even though they have more content available to play. You get the Live Open Daily podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and iHeart. Also catch me on Twitch. I stream VR there a few days a week, twitch.tv/liveopenmic. Thanks, and I'll catch you on the next one.